BFF, 37F, possibly faked a pregnancy to my brother-in-law 37M? One of my best friends, 37F BFF, is dating my brother-in-law, 37M BIL, for 4 years. BFF is a surgical nurse and he works in the orthopedic area of a hospital. BFF informed my in-laws in Feb. that they were pregnant, due June 8, it was a boy, had a name and gave them a framed sonogram. Here are reasons that seem very off and odd to the rest of the family. The sonogram was printed in 4x6, Walgreens etc. Not the hospital paper, and there wasn't info. Names, info, date, hospital name or how many weeks. I guess it could have been cropped and made to fit the frame. But wouldn't you still see some info? They said BFF has been on bed rest the entire pregnancy and on a heart monitor. She has heart and BP issues. The baby also had oxygen issues the entire pregnancy. But BFF drove to and from my BIL's home weekly, who lives hour and a half away. They got engaged March, a month after telling the in-laws. When proposed, it was on part of a hiking trail in Wisconsin. Had to hike to the spot. This is a special place to them, but being on bed rest with these issues. They told my in-laws they didn't want us to know, as well as my sister-in-law. Weird, because she is my best friend and I was one of 2 people to be there for her during a pregnancy 2 years ago that she had to have surgically removed due to medical issues. Brother-in-law was never allowed to any doctor visits, appointments or the sonogram. BFF had been going to appointments 2-3 times a week. He has never been given photos, appointment info. In May they were informed the baby had stopped growing and was 5-6 lbs. However, brother-in-law said she wasn't that big, pregnant looking at 8 months. She is a fit person and has a flat stomach, so hard to think there wouldn't be any bump for a 6 pounds baby? May I add, he has no suspicion of her not being pregnant. June. As of the due date June 8, no baby had been born yet. 8 days past due date, they went swimming and he said her bump was tiny, like barley there, but still thinks this was normal. 1.5 weeks after due date of high-risk pregnancy said she was going to be induced at 8 p.m. which was cancelled. Is 8 p.m. is an odd time thinking face to have a planned induction? Saturday, 2 weeks past due date. Texts brother-in-law saying she is having a planned C-section at 8 p.m. Another odd time? Our fam has life 360. Sister-in-law travels a lot for work etc. Per life 360, brother-in-law drove 1.5 hours to the hospital, was there 15 minutes. Drove to her home for 10 minutes, and then sat in a parking lot for 10 minutes before driving an hour and a half home. Brother-in-law days later says they did all they could, but the baby passed after C-section and not to reach out to her because she is not doing well. She has not given him info on a funeral, this was a week ago, and he won't give any information ATM. We learned she is currently still in the hospital for issues and it has been over a week. She won't let anyone visit, including BIL, or talk to anyone. With a high risk, bed rest, heart issues, and fetal oxygen issues, would they have waited 2 weeks past the due date to while fully grown at 36-37 weeks? Given she didn't have a baby bump? Wasn't bloats, swollen anywhere either. I asked a friend who has been a nurse in a NICU unit for 10+ years about the sonogram and due date. She stated it was weird that there were no words and they wouldn't have let her go 42 weeks. She said to get further evidence. The entire family thinks everything is off and many inconsistencies in the story. Insensitive to think she falsified a pregnancy? She's my best friend and I haven't heard a word? Thoughts? Any OBGYNs, nurses, etc. have any thoughts on this? I need some clarity because everyone around me thinks it is fake because of the inconsistencies. However, I don't want to assume and be insensitive by saying she falsified pregnancy, never delivered a baby or would lie about something leaked this. Going solely off the timeline from the Life 360, she faked the whole thing. He spent 15 minutes at the hospital when she's supposed to be having a C-section? No way in hell. That 15 minutes was the person at the desk trying to make him understand there was no patient by that name and they would not have scheduled a C-section that late. He goes to the GFs for 10 minutes likely to confront her. Spends 10 minutes in a random parking lot contemplating his whole life and how to handle it. That's why no one can reach out to her or him for answers. Possibly they're both lying. Who
Who knows? Weird AF.
Why would she allow you at her first loss and not this one?
Also, maybe she enjoyed the attention she garnered after the first loss. So she did all this.
Odd behavior.
She needs therapy if it's fake. Well, both her and your brother-in-law would have to have falsified it if that's the case. My husband was with me for the C-section.
Why was the dad not involved in any of the appointments? Have flowers delivered to the hospital.
You'll find out if she's actually a patient or not. She picked a weird way to fake it though.
Why didn't she just say she was induced instead of a C-section? Kinda hard to fake that huge abdominal incision. My husband, M32, hates me, F23, and I don't know what to do. How do I fix this?
My husband hates me, or at least that's how I feel. We haven't even been married a whole entire year. I never thought that this would happen. Before we got married, he was my person.
He was so kind and so supportive and my biggest fan and my best friend.
We were so happy. I don't know what happened.
But every day he comes home from work and barely speaks to me.
He just expects me to have dinner done and barely says thanks. I read a lot and he used to ask me all the time about my books. He barely even looks at me reading anymore.
Sometimes he takes my book out of my hand and just kisses me to have sex with me.
He doesn't even try to be romantic anymore. He falls asleep before I'm done with my skincare. He used to kiss me in the morning before he went to work. Now he leaves and leaves the front door unlocked. On the weekends it is better, but I feel like it's mostly for looks.
We hang out with friends and go to events and dinner and even have better sex, but it's all just for show, or just for him.
I don't feel loved. I've tried to tell him this before, but he just groans and tells me I'm being too sensitive.
He refuses to go to therapy with me, but he refuses to let me leave. Once I said I was going to divorce him, end it, if he couldn't show me he cared.
He told me he'd never sign a divorce paper. He told me he'd make sure I never got a cent in the process.
Then he told me he would be better, but he never was.
I begged him to show me something that even resembled love, and I am so embarrassed that he never even tried. The other day I was doing our laundry and saw pink glitter all over his pants. I don't know what it's from, but I don't even care. I mean, I do care, but I don't want to know. My heart hurts.
All I am to him is a wife, not a life partner, not a lover, not someone he cares about. Just a wife who does what he needs and is good enough to tote around. What do I even freaking do? He doesn't see anything wrong. I don't want to restart.
I'm scared. I'm sad. I'm literally heartbroken. Most of all, I'm confused.
How did this happen? Am I really this unlovable?
You're only 23, leaving isn't restarting since you're already going nowhere. Leaving would be a first start.
Get a job first, so that you can support yourself, but keep your funds separate from his. Then you find a place to live, preferably with some roommates so that you are not alone.
Then you find a divorce attorney and have him served.
You don't need him to sign for a divorce to be awarded, it just makes it a longer process.
You are still very young.
You have plenty of time to find someone who will treat you the way you deserve to be treated as a partner, not an unpaid employee.
Girl, bye.
People are giving you good advice to leave because there is no way to dress a pig and turn it into a Prince Charming. You have a college degree. You're young. You can reconnect with friends. He doesn't have to agree to a divorce. It will be granted with time whether he agrees or not. Unless you're okay being his bang maid, know that he is not changing. Either you get used to living like this or leave.
He thinks you're a domestic and sexual slave. It's not that he hates you, it's that he hates all women. Look at the age difference.
You're just a kid, starting over will be easy for you.
He can't have someone his own age because this is how he treats women. Do you have family, or did you really marry him to escape your family issues?
You need to seek help to leave. You actually know what to do, you just don't know how to do it. A divorce only needs one person to start it, and it doesn't matter what he wants. A judge will determine what the split looks like financially, not your husband. There are laws in place to protect marital assets from people working to take advantage of a spouse during divorce. You deserve to feel loved and respected, and he isn't giving you either. My 42M wife, 40F, wants an open marriage. How do I navigate? I need some advice on how to process everything that has happened to me in the last 2 months. My 42M wife, 40F, sat me down 1.5 months ago and said she felt she was bisexual or gay and wants to have an open marriage to discover that part of herself.
We have been together for 21 years and have been married for 15 years. We have 2 boys. We got together when we were young and we were each other's first.
Our marriage has been solid and through a decent amount of adversity.
My oldest has congenital heart disease and has learning and social disabilities.
My dad has been in and out of the hospital. My job is demanding, but it doesn't stop me from being there for my family. I don't have to travel, but it's very stressful.
She has never really found men that attractive. She thinks I am handsome. I am not. But she never really thinks guys are that attractive.
So her coming out as bi isn't even really that shocking, and honestly I don't care about that so much.
To me it's just labels. You either love me or you don't.
About 4 months ago, our oldest was having a really hard time and being very disrespectful.
That situation ended up ballooning into a massive argument between me and her. She said this family dynamic isn't working.
At the end of the fight, and I was devastated.
She asked me to go to therapy. I have been yelling at my oldest a lot at the time.
I started going to BetterHelp and seeing a therapist, which is a huge deal for me.
She has also been seeing a therapist.
Around this time, she had been texting and talking to her new friend, 27F.
They both loved Taylor Swift and she loved talking to her about it. However, they had started texting and talking all of the time. I noticed and was even a little jealous, not thinking anything was happening sexually because I trust her completely. Our sex life was not great, maybe 4-8 times a year until last year. She had turned 40 and her sex drive increased. We also discovered THC gummies, and for the last 6 months, it was 1-2 times a week. I loved it, and she was having a great time, the one thing I am good at.
However, out of the blue, around the same time, she asked if I would be okay with a threesome.
I said I would be self-conscious. I was startled.
Then she asked again, and I said, I doubt we would find anyone that would want to have sex with both of us, but if we did I would consider it. Then, again always after sex, she asked if I would be okay with her having sex with someone else alone.
I said I would not be okay even if it was a woman because it was cheating. I would still consider having a threesome. She got upset, and I was a little hurt, but just thought of it as testing boundaries.
About a month later, she sat me down and she was crying.
She said she thinks she might be gay, and that she needs to explore that part of her, and wants to try having sex with women. I was heartbroken but said I would think about it.
Honestly, it sent me down a spiral.
I told her I would consider it, and that I wanted us to stay together. We have had a lot of talks since then. She never hid her text messages or anything from me, and I never cared or read them even if they were in my face.
However, 2 weeks later, I saw her texting someone and she tilted her phone away, which never happened in our lives. I made out, what my head versus heart. And then the person back said, proceed cautiously. I put 2 and 2 together, read through some old texts I had access to on our computer, and figured out she was talking about the friend she was spending all her time with. I confronted her, and she admitted she developed feelings for her, but she told her friend they needed space to work on her marriage with me. I do believe her there, but now I am completely lost on what to do regarding the open marriage. She still texts her friend, but it's not like it has been before. Her friend knows she had some feelings for her and she didn't feel the same. My wife would have chosen our marriage according to her, but I know she was a little sad it wasn't reciprocated. Her friend wanted to watch our kids' little league game, and I told my wife that was way too soon and I would be very uncomfortable. I told her to decide what is best, and she told her friend not to come. This whole thing has completely upended my mental health. I am starting on antidepressants, and I am not sleeping. I am ashamed at how little I stick up for myself, but she is my best friend and the love of my life. I don't think I can go through an open marriage. We start couples counseling later this month. She has been more lovey and open, and she thinks our marriage is improving greatly. I am not sure. Reddit threads on this subject are awful, outcome-wise. What should I do? Is there any hope for us? How do I navigate this with her? A divorce attorney will help you navigate this situation best. Bisexual people are in monogamous relationships all the time. She struggles a bit at home with everything going on, so she starts emotionally cheating, and putting energy into being unfaithful.
If it were me, I'd just make it clear I'm not an open marriage person, and it isn't an option. It's either married or not, and whatever choices are made are final.
If she chooses to leave, deal with the rest in court. So your wife was emotionally cheating and has decided that in order to make that physical she needs permission from you in the form of an open marriage.
Describe it factually. That's not a great start to ethical non-monogamy.
In fact, it is the slow descent to divorce. Before proceeding further, your wife needs to admit to being unfaithful, recommit and go to couples counseling with you. If you truly want to reconcile, the open marriage needs to be on the back burner. Opening a marriage by coercing one partner when the other was cheating never, ever ends well. E&M requires a strong foundation if it's to have any possible chance of success. However that looks like for you both, your relationship is not there yet.
You decide what you want. And no, wife does not want to explore her sexuality. She has feelings and wants your blessing to explore them. No, it's not just sex. She will be having a relationship with this friend. And when their love blossoms, she will leave you for her. Suggestion: say no.
Offer your wife a speedy divorce, if you, the family and the marriage means that little for her.
To each his own, but just remember,
open marriages almost always favors the woman.
Either you are the type, or you are not.
It will greatly improve for whom? Your wife most likely. Just don't let her guilt trip you into accepting this unless it's on your terms.
Divorce is how you navigate it.
Once a partner asks for an open relationship, marriage is effectively over.
She's already emotionally cheated and has someone lined up. If she hasn't already physically cheated and is using this as a way to make you cheat too to lessen her guilt. 31M My ex-girlfriend, girlfriend 30F slept with someone I know.
What do I do next?
Throwaway account because my ex and I would read this together sometimes.
My ex-girlfriend and I separated for a few months, around the end of last year. We have been together for years, since college, but recently found ourselves in an extended rough patch, so we agreed a break was needed with just some alone time.
In the past 3 or so months we began chatting again.
We both felt like we were on right track to coming back to each other. We shared beautiful evenings and weekends together, very intimate moments, and felt our true selves.
I had to do some work for traveling, so I was away for a few weeks. We weren't living together after our separation, but after I left things went radio silent.
Nothing, no texts, calls or anything. This went on for the next few trips and proceeded to turn into months of back and forth, me chasing and her ignoring. Eventually we made contact and she said that she had been unsure about us again and was just spending some time alone.
I felt uneasy about this, so this didn't end well and we parted ways. I was away for 1 week and no contact again.
Eventually when I got back I decided that we needed to iron this out.
Long story short, she admitted to sleeping with another guy many times and going on dates.
Now she wants us to be back together and admits that I am the man of her dreams. I get we were broken up and things weren't great, but any advice? Feeling quite broken up, so advice on that could be great too.
You sounds like a backup and the other guy wasn't working with her.
If you love her enough, even you know you're a backup, then go for it.
For me personally, I'll move on.
It seems to me like it's time to let go and move forward.
The relationship was already losing its spark, and her decision to sleep with someone else during your break shows she had intentions of moving on rather than working on the relationship. She didn't value your connection enough to focus on herself. Instead, she chose to be with someone else. She's effectively closed the door on any chance of reconciliation by her actions, and it wouldn't be fair to you to take her back.
Yes, you were on a break, but her immediate return to you without addressing her actions isn't fair at all.
Did you ever stop to think the other guy was the reason she asked for a break in the first place? Dude, you are her backup plan.
Have some self-respect and go no contact. Before you do, tell her you know the other guy was the reason she asked for the break.
At least call her out on his bullshit before you cut her off. Show her her actions have consequences.
Any advice?
Yeah. Make her your ex again, and this time keep it that way.
All what? You're the man of her dreams.
Sleeps with another guy. It's over, bro.